Alright, what is up, YouTubers? I've recently been asked to make a video detailing some of my thought processes behind the game. So here it is. Have a peek into the mind of Stunt as he plays Leona in this thrilling solo queue game. First off, let's briefly go over the draft, because I think draft is pretty important for solo queue. I'm picking late, so that means I have the ability to draft around both team compositions. This game, my team needs an engaged tank to go in with Kled and Camille, which leaves Alistar and Leona as the primary options. I think both of Alistar and Leona both do well against Xayah, Rakan in lane, so it really depends on other factors, and I think Leona can pick off Cassio more easily with her ulti, so I choose her over Alistar. In the loading screen, you typically want to think about lane matchups and champion interactions at not only at early levels but also after level 6, because interactions can change. So lane matchups, they generally have some concepts that can be utilized every game. So if you go into a game with a pre-planned idea of the matchup, you're more prepared to react properly. Broadly speaking, Xayah Rakan can win early levels against Kai'Sa Leona due to Rakan's range advantage over Leona. Leona's level 1 and 2 are pretty weak because she doesn't have her defense steroid, but after level 3, when Leona gets her W, she can start looking for trades. And after level 5, she becomes too tanky for them to burst. So at level 6, Rakan and Xayah are pretty easy targets for Leona's engage. She can burst Rakan because Rakan is squishy, and both of his dashes, W and E, get cancelled by close range stun. So he can't escape if he gets locked down by EQR from Leona. Meanwhile, if you want to go on Xayah, Rakan can't really peel for her without getting stunned as well because the ulti is AoE. On the flip side, if Xayah and Rakan can get the jump first onto Kai'Sa, who's maybe split, they can burst her with no counterplay if they combo correctly. This game, looking at the mastery choices, they decided to go for Fleet Footwork and Guardian. What this means for my lane is that they are more resilient, so we don't want to be taking any bad trades over time. And you want to make sure you pop the Guardian, ideally, before you all-in them. Looking at the solo lane matchups, we have GP versus Kled. Just kind of envisioning how the matchup's going to play out. Kled should beat GP, but their mid matchup, Cassio versus Swain, should be Cassio favored. But that being said, both junglers are early game ganking junglers, at least in Camille, so they have the ability to swing any of the matchups through early ganks. Cassio has no cleanse, which means that it's a pretty easy target for roams and in team fights. Also, GPA is a global champion, so he does have ulti after level 6 if we have a close fight bottom. So some things to think about going into the game. Alright, so now we're in game. Let's talk a little bit about the level 1. In any game, you should always try to get as much as possible out of level 1. If your team's level 1 is stronger and your team is all present, invading can be a way to get a free early game advantage for relatively low amounts of effort. However, if your level 1 is weaker, you want to make sure you avoid one of those disaster level 1 games that we've all experienced by just warding early and backing out. So this game, Camille pings that she's going to go start red. Swain and Kai'Sa are AFK at the tower. So what that means for me is that I can't really walk past the bush I'm in right now, because Cassio could sneak in through the line bush, and Xayah and Rakan could be there cheesing. So I don't want to risk that. Right now, what's important about level 1 is that I get the river ward down before I go to lane. Now I can't place it yet because if I place it now and Xayah and Rakan are in there, they can just clear it and we won't have a ward for the river. And the ward for the river is very important because it feeds you information on the enemy jungler's early pathing, and it's really helpful for avoiding cheese ganks early on mid. The later you can place it without affecting your lane, the better, since it lasts longer. So right now I'm just waiting, not really doing anything. And now I'm going to head to lane. Now, since I know my jungler is going to start top, I wanted to get to lane as soon as possible to try to freeze it, but I wasn't able to make it in time. Ideally, when you freeze the lane, you want to get to lane early, and you want to make sure you get there before the waves crash. And after that, you want to make sure you tank all 6 creeps before you drop the creep aggro in the bush. And what this means is they're all going to focus 1 creep and kill it really quickly before the enemy bot can arrive from their leash. This means that they wouldn't hit level 2 for an extra 2 range creeps on the second wave. And we would hit level 2 first, and that would be a huge advantage. Against range supports though, who can shove the wave really quickly after they arrive from leashing, you want to also hit the ranged minions low as well so that you can match their push and hit level 2 earlier or at the same time. Now, early levels set the pace for your lane, and even bad matchups can be good or neutralized if you get the early push or levels advantage. So even the early level 1 wave is pretty important. In general, when I play Leona, I like to start Q no matter what, because E isn't that great level 1. If you E through the wave and you take creep aggro, you lose the trade no matter what. So since you have no way of initiating trades at level 1, it's better to just respond to what Xayah and Rakan do. For example, if they use double W, I'm just going to Q for the aftershock and disengage by walking backwards while they take the creep aggro, and then trade shouldn't be too bad. Leona's level 1 is pretty weak. Alright, pause. So Xayah just showed that she came to lane with less than full mana. And what this means is that bot most likely leash. And what that means is that Elise will most likely have 2 possible pathing options. One is going to be red to ganking bottom straight. And the other one is going to be red to blue to top scuttle. Obviously there are other variants to pathing, but I think these are the most common ones. Since Kai'Sa warded behind us level 1, this still means we can't play that volatile or how to explain it, trade heavy until we figure out which one of these 2 paths Elise is taking, since she could still be within follow-up distance to a fight. Meanwhile, our jungler is pathing towards bottom. So as this lane progresses, pause. Xayah shows that she started Q, which means they don't have the double W burst potential. However, Rakan still hasn't shown his spell. Right now, I just want to get my first relic stack off, because the sooner you get the first one off, the sooner the second one starts charging. The reason why I'm not in the bush is because since Rakan hasn't skilled yet, I want to make sure that I'm close to Xayah in case Rakan chooses W. Because if he chooses W and he goes on Xayah or on Kai'Sa and I'm not near, I don't have a way of really helping her because I'd be too far. So right now I'm trying to be slightly close to her by not being in the bush. Yeah, if they did that, we would lose the lane. Alright, so right here, Rakan shows Q. That means, first off, that Q is going to be on cooldown for around 10 seconds. Now, it's pretty good to have a general idea of what the enemy laner's cooldowns are. And it doesn't have to be too precise, but just so you can punish spells for being on cooldown. Now, I'm a level 1 Leona, so I can't really punish a cooldown deficit, but examples of champions that can are like Nami, who can like walk up and auto attack abuse and W and whatnot, and like Soraka and stuff like that. So what I do as Leona is instead I just walk up as far as I can without taking autos from them to help contest the wave with Kai'Sa. Or yeah, with Kai'Sa. So notice I'm just standing outside their auto attack range, which is like here. You can have like a general idea, like here, and like here. So as long as you avoid those two circles, you can walk up that far to help your ADC. If you stand too far in the back as Leona, like here, you won't give enough room for your ADC to farm, and they'll both like walk up and they'll just like both target Kai'Sa together. So you can't stand that far back. Okay, pause. Very important. Okay, so the second wave is arriving, which means that one of the more important times of bot lane, the race to level 2 has begun. So what this means right now is, let's observe. The waves are pretty much even right now, but they are double ranged. So what that means is double range, they can auto both of the creeps safely without getting harassed, whereas I can get harassed while I walk up for the creeps. However, I do have one relic stack, so I know we can hit level 2 even or faster if I just auto and execute one of the creeps. When I walk up to auto creeps, they have to have the decision between hitting me or hitting the creeps. If they choose me, we get 2 first because they were hitting me instead of the creeps. And if they choose the creeps, then we should get it evenly. So right before hitting 2, you want to judge, okay, do I want to trade here or not? So let's watch it happen. Notice how I walk back and forth between autos to take the least amount of damage possible. So we're about to hit level 2 and pause. Before you take a trade as a bot laner, you need to consider a couple of things. One, the lane situation. So how I like to imagine is like just straight up 2v2, are you going to win? 2, it's the enemy jungler location. If you trade without knowing where the enemy jungler is, they could come to bite you in the ass and get your sums and maybe a couple kills. 3 is one that people don't really think too much about, but it's the mid lane status. Whoever's mid lane is stronger at the time can always move to the bot fight first if it's an extended trade. Also, if you're too low, they can always move to dive you after a bad trade. Last but not least, we have TP status. TP status, this game isn't going to be as important to think about because GP's TP isn't that powerful. So personally, I like to operate on guaranteed knowledge when making a play, but I'm willing to take more risks if the game requires it. For example, if we have a bad team comp that got outscaled or teammates that were underperforming heavily, then you have to play a little bit riskier to have a better chance at winning the game. So in this situation, we just hit 2 at the same time. So just pure 2v2, if I engage here, we actually lose because I'd burn all my cooldowns for a Guardian and they would just retaliate on us after. So I'm not going to engage here. Notice how I'm still staying close enough to protect Kai'Sa from an all-in while still giving enough space to dodge a double W from Rakan. Alright, so here we see Elise show top. So since Elise is showing herself diving top lane while my Camille's bot side, I can use that knowledge to really take whatever trade I want, and their bot lane has to respect it. Because if I take a trade, even if it's slightly unfavorable, my jungler will always come first. Their bot hasn't left the lane yet, so I know for a fact that they don't have anything warded. So if you look at Camille right now, she's coming straight bottom. So I hold my cooldowns and I don't want to act too suspiciously until I know she's in my follow-up range. So look at my movements prior to the gank. I move left and right, but slowly inching forward. So it looks like I'm in the same spot. And then when she's in follow-up range, boom, strike. Perfect. And now time the summoners. I think I missed the timing on the Rakan flash because I didn't realize his W got cancelled by Camille Z. How unlucky. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to chase Rakan off the wave. So you need to use what the enemy team is thinking against them. We both know his jungler was just top and my jungler just disappeared somewhere in his bot jungle. Since he has no flash, he knows he's potentially diveable. So even if I know my jungler isn't coming, I can at least scare Rakan off the wave's soul experience with the small movement, and this would delay his level 6 spike. My motto is that small advantages do add up, so yeah. Here's where things get a bit interesting. So I see my team start fighting topside, right? And Rakan starts moving in that direction into fog. So I assume he wants to move towards the fight, because if he wanted to recall, he would have just done so right under the tower after he collected the wave. So I ping missing no matter what, because you should always make your laners' options clear, even if you don't think they'll do it, just in case they do, you know. It's always good to check the exact situation by looking at the minimap so you understand what everyone is thinking at a given time. So I'm going to do that shortly. Alright, here it is. So what I can get out of that is that from that brief glance, I can tell that the fight is already won, and Rakan showing up there wouldn't really make a difference for them. So now my next question for myself is, what's the most I can gain out of this situation? So let's go through the facts. Xayah, I know for a fact, has no summoner spells. Since we fully crashed the wave after killing them, it's bouncing back, which means that Xayah eventually has to put herself in danger to farm. Even if he backed immediately after going to fog, Rakan and Xayah's arrival to lane would still be staggered by at least 20 seconds. So I don't really calculate every second of this. It's like more of like an internal timer you can get a feel for. If you're not sure, recall timers are 8 seconds and walking to lane generally 25 to 30. So let's play it out now. Notice how the wave's slowly pushing out. Alright, and watch how I play this. So I flash Q and then I E while she's running away. Now this is what I call the 99% play versus the 100% play. So 99% of the time I can just land my E there and get the kill. But I'm usually not the kind of person to like risk the 1% that she just randomly decides to juke my E, because I already put a huge time commitment into this play and it has to work out. Otherwise, I lose a decent amount of the advantage that we just gained. Okay, so we want to fully push out here so we can get a free reset and also make Xayah fully miss the wave. On top of that, the wave's going to bounce again, so she would have to contest the wave versus us with significantly weaker items. Okay, so here I have a long window to roam, because if you look at the wave bottom, it's not going to crash for another 2 waves. I just have to make sure that I make it back in time for Kai'Sa to catch the stacking wave safely. So when you have a long window, you generally want to reset towards mid. And the reason being is because you want to use your pressure to help your mid and jungler contest everything. So this includes like vision, scuttle crab, jungle, all of that. Rakan has to stay bottom here because he has to worry that Xayah will die on the wave pushing out again. So this gives us a temporary numbers advantage on the rest of the map. Conveniently, the fight breaks out on my timing, but we already won that, so I hold Twins lane for him and I just go back bottom to push my advantage some more. The river ward that I just placed is is one of the most OP wards, because if you can maintain it, having vision in that area makes it so much harder for the enemy mid and jungle to pressure bot side without getting spotted. Especially if you combine it with a ward in the tri-bush, you can see both entrances out of their bot side jungle. But unfortunately, I only had one ward. Also, if the enemy jungler has like a dash or blast cone, they can always dodge those two wards as well. Alright, so the only person who could have hit that scrying orb was Rakan, because we see everyone else on the map, and Elise just died. So it's good to call where exact people are. Downtime is a good time to press tab and check up on the map status. So by pressing tab, I can see, okay, well, Xayah only has Dorn's shield, right? And while Kai'Sa's sitting on like pretty good components. The solo lanes, here, let me show the tab. The solo lanes aren't doing too shabby either. Generally like pretty even XP. Top is down, a couple farm, but he's up a kill and assists, or he's up assists, I guess. So he should be fine. So there's nothing too worrisome out of the rest of the map. Also, our jungler seems to be doing fine as well. Right now, I'm mostly unsure about the jungler location. So what I do is I walk forward to test the waters and see how they react. If they retreat heavily, that means their jungler probably isn't in the area. But if they hold their ground, that means their jungler could be waiting in the wings. So they kind of fought me back, so I guess I'll play safe for now. Haha. Just kidding. The Recon was disrespecting me, so I had to go in here. Gotta show him who's the boss, you know. So cute. Wow, we're kind of lucky that Elise wasn't here, to be honest. Now I'm just gonna back up a bit in case she's top, or in case she was spot, but she's top. My Ignite's coming up soon, and they just used theirs, and Rakan was pretty low, so we can pressure now. Rakan isn't showing right now, but and he was pretty low, but I don't see a reason for him to recall since we both just reset, so he should have around my gold, which isn't enough to really buy anything useful. The way Kaz is posturing forward, he wants to dive, but as I suspected, Rakan was blocking. I don't mind testing limits in solo queue or scrims, really, as long as it doesn't like throw the game that hard. And Elise shows here. So I didn't really expect Elise to come straight from top to bot without farming her camps. So quickly assessing the situation, their bot is at the tower catching the wave, so therefore they are too far to follow up, but their mid's been missing for a while. I assume Cassio can only come from tri since I have the river warded, so I want to pull Elise further from the tri bush before we turn on her. Once she transformed from spider form to human form, that means she can't switch back to spider for another 4 seconds, which means she can't repel. From checking tab earlier, we can tell she doesn't really have that many items, just Moby boots and a couple components. And her level is pretty low, so it's a pretty easy turn for us. Just make sure you activate W before you get CC'd as Leona, otherwise you're going to be pretty squishy. So Cassio in the bush behind us was practically the only way I would have died. I guess I didn't really take into account the blast cone. Overall, though, the 1-for-1 trade is pretty good for the game because we took 4 of the enemy resources for 4 of their characters and the mid's ult while only expending 2 of our characters. This gives top mid and jungle time to create an advantage. Now that I have my Moby boots, my windows are longer since I can move faster around the map. However, I initially head towards bottom instead of mid because I need to hit 6 before I can realistically make a decent success rate play on mid. Without flash or ult, I would just get kited by Cassio. Since their bot has their ult available and their defensive summoner is up now, we can't really dive them. So I'd rather just quickly push out and hide into fog. That would pressure the enemy team more than if I was to just deny a few extra CS from laning. So here, I'm going to move towards mid. Go back bottom. And I'm going to move towards the mid fight here because it's still my timing. If Swain was able to stall for more time for us to arrive, we would have a numbers advantage, but he got bursted too quickly. I pinged my AD back because he was pretty far up and I wasn't in range to help him. Alright, so now their bot is in a position where they want to push out, but they can't because they don't know where me or the jungler is. So the only place they could have been in range to ward was the tri-bush, since they didn't really move too far from lane. So with Camille's sweeper on, we were able to tell that they have no information on us. So we just have to be patient. We have to wait for them to either push out slightly further and collapse on them, or just wait for them to face check for a ward. They most likely have to do one of these two if they want to farm. Be sure to chain the Q and the R for a guaranteed kill. Especially against mobile champions, that's very important. Alrighty. Alright, so now Cassio had the time to push out mid and can now use the advantage they just created to come bottom. We want to kind of waste as much of our time as possible so that our mid laner has time to get back on the map. So by walking up to hit the tower, Kai'Sa forces Cassio to come bottom to defend since Kai'Sa's dead, or since Xayah is still dead. Their only way of engaging onto Kai'Sa is Rakan W or Elise E. But since Kai'Sa can dodge Rakan's W with her E, the only concern here is the cocoon. So I just want to position to block it in case Elise looks for that angle. Okay. Alright, so from walking to the bush there, we can tell that the bush isn't warded because I dropped creep aggro immediately. I think we're going to push out here, and then we're going to kind of hide. Now it's important to hide in the fog so they don't have too much information about you. I'm trying to dodge the ward in the tri-bush, so they think I'm roaming towards mid, when in actuality I'm baiting for Camille in the lane. Looking at it now though, I think Sven had a better idea, which was just hiding in that bush that we knew wasn't warded. Actually, if I was there, it probably would have been a kill, since Xayah didn't, or it would at least be Xayah's ult, and then we would dive her again when my ult was up, but it's okay. I feel somewhat pressured to make a play right now since Camille's allocating a lot of her time bottom, but I don't want to force a bad play. So right now I'm trying to not to position overzealously, but I want to at least be looking to pressure engages on every last hit. Yeah, and there was one. So we got the ult, but our mid died again. So what this means is that their mid and jungle are in the position to pressure the tower. This means we also have to pressure something right now, otherwise we'll give them an advantage for free, which is the damage onto our mid tower. So I tell Camille to stay and pressure the tower with us. This will either force a trade in our favor where we get the first tower and dive their bot lane. Remember, Xayah just used ult. Or it'll force their mid and jungle to come bottom and defend and not get anything off the mid kill. So here we stayed kind of because they stayed, and we don't want to give them a free push when they're so far behind. Our vision is kind of adequate enough to pressure safely. We have a river ward and a tri-bush ward. So now Camille's pinging for a dive. But I'm really not sure if Elise is here or not since she has Moby boots. So she could be countering. So I want to ward behind just to make sure. Now that we spotted Elise, and Casio can continuously pressure us from behind due to the individual advantage that she accrued, there's not really much we can do here currently. So I tell Camille to go dive top instead. If they continue to put 4 resources bottom, we will play safe and then Camille can get a free top play. Otherwise, if Elise leaves to match Camille top, then we are opened up to take the bottom tower for free and trade them. So here we're just continually shoving them in. So Camille's going to go through mid right now. We can't really hit the tower. We don't know where Elise is yet. So now they're going to look for the play top. And now we see top side that, well, we're going to see again shortly, that Elise chose to match the Camille top, which means that we can get the free tower since we see everyone on the map. This also means that we can finally look for a 2v2 play. So I just walk up and take the tower. And here I didn't chain my Q and my R in succession. So we play this kind of poorly, but since our XP and item advantage is so much higher, that more than made up for our misplays. So, okay, so now after the towers start dropping, and if you're a player and you're unsure where to go, the best idea would be to reset towards the middle of the map first, and then you can readjust your position according to the map state after. So here, Kaisa wants to match lanes since Ba has no summoner spells. I personally think both swapping lanes to get top and herald or diving bot for tower and dragon are both fine calls, and it really depends on personal preference. Here, okay. Yeah, again, press top during downtime. You can tell what Cassio's very fed now, but their bot lane is like trash tier. So here, it's vision time. So pause. I know I'm safe to get vision here because Rakan, Cassio, and Xayah have all showed on the map, and Elise isn't really a threat to me currently with her current items. However, I can't really go deeper than right here because I can't face check Elise at the Raptor bush, otherwise their team can collapse on me. I use the other Scry Orb to face check the jungle for me so I can get deeper vision safely. I know the bot side isn't warded because Rakan hasn't completed his quest yet. Using the information we have right now, we can conclude that Elise is probably top side since she has no camps on her bottom side or any control over it. Okay, and now that she's showed for sure, for certain, this is pretty much a free dive. So Xayah walks up, just ult her ass. Even if you get it just her ulti, it's good enough. Or it's worth. Her ult's a longer cooldown. Alright, so now we get this tower for free. So now Cassius is top. So that means they sent 3 top, which means only Rakan can be defending bottom. And we can snag another tower for free. This is called head counting, and you want to make sure you always keep track of how many people are where on the map. So, yeah, free tower. Oof. Alright, so now on the way out, I still have one more ward. So since I know that where everyone is right now, I can go ahead and place the most juicy ward that I want to get earlier. And that ward is really good because it is the most popular jungle entrance. That's why you should always make sure you hold wards for the right time and not just place them all at once. Alright, so now we're taking a little bit of our time to chase GP. This ends up being bad for us, I think. Generally, you don't want to chase too hard for kills. It's better to play for tempo. Alright, so I'm orbing. I had a little suspicion they were on Herald. So now that they're on, we see them on Herald. So we kind of lost the Herald because we used all our tempo to get the 2 bot towers, but then stayed to chase GP anyways. But that's okay. It's really hard to find a good opportunity to use Herald if all your lanes are getting pressured. Alright, so all these events are like pretty random. See what else happens. I think Elise goes bottom through vision. So I shouldn't be mid right now. I should actually be top to get vision through the 80 carry. But since he's recalling, there's not really much for me to do. So I'm just chilling. I see Elise, so I can place wards right now. Xayah, see Rakan. Getting vision right now is kind of a waste though, because I'm kind of doing it just by myself. It's better to get it as a team so you can defend it, and I can't get the best wards, so I'm just wasting my wards kind of. Alright, this is pretty random too. Just I'm kind of trolling here. Alright, so my next point is about to come up soon. Yeah, you can't really pressure or get vision through mid because our mid is significantly weaker. So as you saw there, I tried to get vision through mid and their Cassio just dumped me. I should just be with the Kaisa and then push top with her and then rotate down to get vision with her. So here is an important talking point. So fight starts out bottom and it starts out top. We can infer that Cassio is rotating to the bot fight because she isn't contesting the mid wave, and she briefly crossed the topside ward, showing that she's moving towards bottom. So now that I'm here at the mid lane tower, the 100% play is if me and Swain both auto the mid tower and Cassio isn't there, we will get it for sure. However, if I decide to rotate to either the top or the bot fight, I risk getting nothing because I won't make it in time to either situation. Also, if the situation isn't favorable, I'll have wasted my time. So I think in general, don't tunnel too hard on joining fights and always think about what your best option is at any specific instance. And here I guess I have a brief talking point about wards. Make sure you place them in places that give you relevant information to work with for the next objective. So for us at this moment, that means topside vision for Baron setup, since Giant's down and Baron's coming up in 2 minutes. For items, Zeke's is always a solid choice for Leona with any kind of auto-attacking carry like Kaisa because it has good ratios. And stats. Alright. Traveling. Constantly looking at the minimap. Here, they're collapsing on Kaisa. Now here, I have a couple ways of playing it. I could have flash QR'd Cassio there for a fast play onto her, but I decided against it because I didn't think she would get one shot. And on top of that, Rakan would ult Kaisa's damage regardless with his ult W. So, okay, let's keep going. So here, what I'm thinking is that Xayah is still bottom, so this is a winnable 3v3. But we only win it if we can focus Cassio first, because she's their main source of damage. So the only person that can kill Cassio right now is Camille. So I want to kite towards Camille to give her an angle to jump to Cassio. And perfect, we got her. So Swain ate their 2 CC spells there, so Camille can come in safely. Don't forget to rebound your Zeeks if your conduit isn't in the fight. So Kai'Sa is dead, so I rebounded to Camille sometime during that fight. Now here's the important part. So after a fight, you always want to assess what the most you can get is. So Baron's still down, so the best we can do is crash our waves, secure good vision, and reset to not lose tempo. So we're going to crash mid and top here. And what I'm going to do here is, what's it called? One second. Okay, what I'm going to do here is, since they know that I'm in their top side jungle, they're going to assume that I warded, and they're going to try to sweep them. What this means for me is I want to try to place my wards somewhere, pretty much somewhere that will still give me good information, but isn't going to be caught by normal sweeping paths. So as you see here, they're going to be sweeping through, and they didn't spot my ward that I placed. So now we have vision in their topside jungle. Awesome. Vision in their jungle makes it a lot easier to get vision the second time around, because you can see everything that's going around and where they're at. Alright, here's kind of just nothing. We're walking to get contest vision because we're grouped as a 4. I'm just sweeping common route places to put Baron wards at. Make sure you check the other side of the pit too. So I checked that with my pink. And okay, so here's an interesting interesting part. So Swain's calling to contest vision here, but we can't because Kai'Sa wants to push out top. However, we definitely win a straight up 5v5 because we're so much stronger. But I think Kai'Sa just wants to try like a backdoor play just to see how it works, which is cool. What this means for the rest of us is we want to stop them from recalling when Kai'Sa starts to hit the towers. So here I step forward slightly too soon. Again, you want to pay attention to the CC that you need to be dodging. Right now, I have to think about flashing either Cocoon or Recon W. So I flash the Cocoon. So now we're hitting the structures topside, so I want to walk up again. This is when the enemy team decides to start Baron. Actually, this should be a game-losing call for them, but I made a mistake and I didn't do head count. So I only saw 4 of them, but we didn't see Cassio. If I knew Cassio was missing, I should have warded the Pixel Bush, and I wouldn't have went in because they don't have enough Baron damage without Cassio, so we can just keep waiting and then stall their backs at the very end. So actually we could have won the game here. I also didn't keep track of the Baron HP and saw that was super healthy. If I saw it, I would have backed up because there's 0 chance they could finish fast enough, so they had to turn. I think Swain's E got me a little bit hyphy. Alright, so you're about to see a very tragic. So here I'm counting the recalls from 8, so now it's 3 seconds till they come. I typed 2, but that was actually 2 seconds after 3 seconds, so it was actually 1 second. Yeah, very tragic. The Cocoon hits him after the ulti, so we don't actually end the game here. Alright, so Kai'Sa's dead for 30 seconds now, and she's our strongest member by far. The enemy team definitely wants to use this window to try to force a desperation play onto us. We see Elise, Xayah, and GP rush over to the Baron area to establish control, but they don't have Cassio, who's clearing waves in the base. This means they 100% have to look for a pick, since their Cassio is their main Baron damage. Our job here is to not get baited into an unfavorable fight and wait for Kai'Sa to respawn to reset the map state. The only situation where we lose is if we face check into them and lose another member for free. Yeah, but then at least just suicided, so whatever. Swain almost suicide actually. So after picking up their jungler, we now want to pressure Baron, but it's still 4v4 until Kai'Sa arrives. The systematic way to do this is to push out mid and top wave, then contest Vision in their top side together, while the enemy team is answering the pushing waves. After we do this, we can use the Vision to make a pick or start the Baron. So now we're doing Vision part. The lane ward that I just placed is very important for keeping control of the mid lane, since you can see the enemy map movements through the lane and into the jungle. I moved back towards mid to help Kai'Sa push out the next mid wave, but I made sure to stay hidden so that the enemy team is always operating on as little information as possible. Always think about what the enemy team is seeing on their map and how it affects what they will do. I didn't need to use the ult there, but never be afraid to throw out an ult to secure an important pick. After the Kled ult missed, I told the team to go directly to Baron, as it would be a waste of time to continue chasing. I thought we could burst in and get out, but they actually landed some pretty nice spells, so props to them. Though this part's pretty funny. Kai'Sa then waits for them to all recall, and then fucking this Xayah was pretty bad, I'm not gonna lie. So there's not really that much more to talk about this game. I know this video might be a little bit overwhelming, but it's all about improving one step at a time and building good habits. I hope my fellow support mates find this video at least somewhat helpful, or at least I hope at least it gives you like maybe a new perspective on the game. I'd like to thank everyone for all the support they've given me through this past month, and appreciate it so much. And if you want to see more in-game commentary, please subscribe and follow the stream.